I believe that in 2024, no franchise, brand, entertainment medium released less content and had more of a reputational damage than that of Star Wars last year. It was wild, right? Because you remember the way that they kicked off the year with Charmin Obaid-Chinoy hopping on CNN saying it's finally time for a woman to take control of Star Wars, and it was really all downhill from there. Them having to announce that Mandalorian and Grogu was going to be their triumphant return to the theaters, and saying, hey guys, you're going to be really excited when the Acolyte comes out later this year. And outside of that, I think there was a season of one of their animated shows that ended up like, wasn't the Bad Batch? It's like season, I don't even know, man. Like, that series wrapped up, and then you had Skeleton Crew being the worst viewed thing literally ever on Disney. It's not that bad, but it was might as well have been close enough, because Star Wars, it was solidified as a dead brand in 2024. Like, who's looking forward to anything that's coming out this year? Because there's really nothing coming out, like Andor season 2, and then after that, nothing. Like, legitimately nothing. That's the only thing that they have on their release schedule. It is wild, okay? But, of course, Star Wars Celebration 2024 I'm sorry, 2025, right? 2025. It's in April. It's just a couple of months away. And, well, I'm sure Kathleen will just come out on stage and she'll read the teleprompter verbatim because, well, now that Joe Biden is gone and signed with CAA, because I guess they're going to be covering his funeral, but she'll come out on stage and read it in the exact same way that the 46th president did, and read everything line by line. Fade in. Welcome everyone to Star Wars Celebration. I am proud to announce the first female. It's just going to be some crap like that. I imagine it's going to be the first female-led series to get a second season that is going to be debuting towards the end of the year. Because I would imagine, like, I haven't heard anything concrete outside of just a few rumors, but Ahsoka season 2, right? Like, the turnaround on that, it can't be that much. I would imagine we'll probably see that by the end of the year. Might get a teaser or a trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu, because that is penciled in for May of 26. But I'm sure that they'll publicly announce Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy's thing, okay? You know, add a little bit more fuel to the fire for James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi, which is a totally new and unique, unshackled from the lore, even though it's directly ripping off and referencing something that is just Legends material. You know, an old EU story about the very first Jedi, the Dawn of the Jedi Order, which was uniquely titled, all right, Dawn of the Jedi Order set, what was that, 25,000 years. Totally new idea from James Mangold. 1,000%, right? But we'll get all of that. But then, of course, the crown jewel. The crown jewel of all of this is going to be, if it's going to be a Rey movie or a Rey trilogy. Is this going to be, you know, a standalone Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order, or is it going to be kicking off the sequel trilogy? As somebody who is in this business of ours, I do like a little bit of job security. So for the love of God, please announce the sequel trilogy starring Rey, because we all know nobody wants this, but you're vain and stupid enough to do it. So the Rey movie hires a third writer as Kathleen Kennedy struggles to deliver on lofty promises. So yeah, the brand of Star Wars, it had a rough year in 2024. It doesn't look to be turning it around at all whatsoever in 2025, but I don't know what's worse, okay? The actual franchise itself or anybody attached to this, because at this point in time, nobody really is looking to get into bed with Star Wars, unless, of course, they're rolling up the Brinks truck, which I would love to see the contract and how much Ryan Gosling is getting paid, because he's not really a movie star, but then at the same time, he is still a marketable piece for anybody to throw into their project. He must have been paid enough to get those wonky eyes fixed in order for him to do any type of Jedi project. Daisy Ridley-led Star Wars movie has officially tapped its third writer, George Nolfi, okay, in what seems like another chapter of the ongoing saga of delays and turbulence under Kathleen Kennedy's leadership at Lucasfilm. No, she was literally the best coffee fetcher on the on the Raiders of the Lost Ark set. Trust me, bro. According to The Hollywood Reporter, this latest change signals continued faith in the project. Sure, though fans and critics alike might see it as another sign of disorganization in the franchise struggling to find its footing. The studio head desperate to deliver on at least one of her many announced projects. Announced 2 years ago with great fanfare. Yeah, because it was in Daisy Ridley's backyard, right? Because it was in London where the celebration took place. They had her, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, get on stage and say, hey guys, we're doing another Rey movie. It's going to be the new Jedi Order. And we'll see Daisy Ridley reprise the role of Rey 15 years after the events of Rise of Skywalker, which is so great. The story will reportedly position Rey as a mentor to a new generation of Jedi. Yes, a little boy Jedi and a little girl Jedi. And one ends up being evil and one ends up being the light of the galaxy. I will leave it to you to deduce which one's going to be which, though details beyond this basic premise remain scarce. Yes, and outside of just, okay, here's the director. We got a female director who is known for doing a bunch of feminist propaganda, and we have who's writing this film this week? The project was initially spearheaded by writers Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson, only for them to part ways shortly after director Charmin Obaid-Chinoy was brought on board. Stephen Knight, Peaky Blinders, took over the script in 2023, but he too departed late last year because he's like, I want nothing to do with this stuff. I'm setting up my own studio. I'm working on another project, and Star Wars is a career cancer at this point. Now Nulfi, whose credits include The Bourne Ultimatum and The Adjustment Bureau. I've at least heard of that stuff, which is a step up from most people that, Star Wars gives lucrative contracts to. So I stepped in to salvage the script. This shuffle of creative talent combined with a lack of concrete updates on production has left many wondering whether the project will ever make it to theaters. And here's the thing, man. I still think it's going to happen. And I think that they are hubristic enough to make this a trilogy, which has been rumored before. But what's the quality of talent that Lucasfilm can even approach at this point? Okay, cool. They hired a veritable nobody to write the script. They have an absolute nobody to direct this stuff. Who's also gonna be in this story? Like, it can't just be Rey and a couple of kids for 2 hours. Like, nobody was already gonna see this film, but if that's gonna be the premise of it, absolutely nobody's gonna see this film. Like, this is gonna be a Marvel's level flop for Disney, a Lucasfilm, and perhaps this will be an awakening to just let people know that, Star Wars is dead. Okay, it's kind of like how it took the Marvels to come out for Marvel to realize that, you need to course correct. Perhaps this Rey movie is, that's just what is needed in order to finally kick out, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and the rest of those hacks, because I don't think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to make any money. Okay, I could see that being 300 million tops, especially with some of those plot leaks that we're hearing and the wider popularity of Dave Filoni's fanfic characters. It's like, that's just not going to hit. People are already sick and, trepidatious about Pedro Pascal and Fantastic Four. What's it going to be like when he's just simply a voice actor? For a repurposed script for a 4th season of a show that already fell off the rails for a vast majority of people with season 3, even though you could argue it was much earlier than that. But what has been the legacy of people coming out of Star Wars? Like, it was funny at a certain point in time, especially with the original trilogy, and I guess to a lesser extent the prequel trilogy. Like, if you worked at Star Wars, it was seen as worked on Star Wars rather. It was seen as a bit of a boon to your career. It was something of a highlight that you could put on your resume. In the aftermath, okay, for a bunch of people that are out there, like, what is the last thing John Boyega has done? Exactly nothing. Oscar Isaacs and Adam Driver don't even want to discuss how they spent their mid to late 2010s. And Daisy Ridley, well, there's a reason that, she's very gleeful to come back to this, is because it's the only time that she can get paid. Like, for as much as Mark Hamill is not a movie star, he could not walk down a main street in any major metropolitan city and not get recognized. Rey, on the other hand, if she was to get up from her table at a restaurant, somebody might pull her aside and say, "Excuse me, miss, can I get a refill on my water?" She is so unrecognizable. And her career is so hampered by being associated with Disney post the Disney purchase. Attached to Star Wars post the Disney purchase. That's what I meant to say on this one. Which is interesting because the architect of the biggest flop, Leslye Headland, funnily enough, after the cancellation, or the announcement of the leak of the announcement of the cancellation of season 2 of the Acolyte, which was very much set to go forward, but they just could not justify it due to the abysmal ratings. Well, we've talked about that before, but because Hollywood is nearly impossible for certain people to fail out of, she ended up getting a very lucrative position over at Netflix, but it recently came to light that Headland abruptly departs Netflix's project, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which seems something far more her speed to be directing. okay? Not a major Star Wars project that cost $230 million. But the fact that she departed this Netflix project, I don't really know what that says. I don't know if that's really the full story. Headland, Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant and creator of Disney's The Acolyte, has suddenly exited her latest Netflix project, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. While she appears to insist the decision was hers, the timing is undeniably suspicious, coming just days after The Acolyte's true viewership numbers were revealed, numbers that placed the series far below its hyped status. Exactly. Even though there's still some simps that are out there going, guys, it was a big success, Season 2 is coming any day now. This has led many to speculate whether Headland truly stepped away from her, of her own accord, or if Netflix quietly removed her after seeing the disastrous performance of her of her D+ series. Which, okay, like, you hired somebody who was already known to have spearheaded one of the worst reviewed, most divisive, least watched projects ever. Like, there were soft numbers that were out there just letting people know that nobody was watching this shit to begin with, but Netflix still went, aha, that's who we need to bring on board, because Netflix, while they may have won the streaming wars, are still a stupid company. Not quite Paramount, Warner Brothers stupid, just like 60 IQ stupid. Destiny audience member stupid. Netflix's adaptation of Taylor Jenkins Reid's best-selling novel was supposed to be another high-profile project for Headlamp, who previously helmed Russian Doll, which I guess a few pretentious assholes like. However, in an unexpected announcement, she confirmed her departure, stating, "I'm no longer working on the project. I remain a huge fan of the books and the people working on it. As one of those things where, it's going to be a huge success." I doubt it. Well, she presented this and the media took it as a voluntary decision. Her words left room for interpretation. I thought, damn it, it's not going to work out with me involved in it, but it is going to be wildly successful. Yeah, that kind of seems like she's kind of got a bit of the taste of the Star Wars effect on this one. I mean, you look at the numbers, right, from 2024, top 10 original TV series, and you don't see a goddamn thing from Disney+. And then you take a look at the top 10 Disney+ shows, and, well, The Acolyte, hey man, it's number 2 on that list with a 2.6 billion minutes watched. But then you compare that with everything else that's on the list, and it's a third. Pales in comparison. Even something as abysmal as the Fallout show is. Star Wars is a cancer at this point in time, and it needs a severe round and a severe treatment of chemotherapy to excise all of those malignant cells. I think it gets worse before it gets better. Celebration is going to be very enlightening in Japan in April. Another round of announcements, and we'll see if there's any course correction on the horizon. I've got a strange feeling it's not going to get better anytime soon, but on the bright side, might actually get some laughs out of it. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.